Hello!
Hi, and welcome to episode 5 of Catch Up with the Catchpoles, where today we're going to be talking about our goals for 2020 and our plans for 2020 and why some of the learnings from last year have led us to make some big changes this year. And we're hoping that some of these learnings will help you in your property journey, your business, or in life in general.
So we thought we'd first start with what we got up to in 2019. So our big goal for 2019 was to become financially free.
Yes.
So we started off the year really busy. We got 2 offers accepted actually off the back of, I think that was 2018.
Yes.
And we completed on both these projects in a matter of weeks. We bought a 2-bed house and we converted it into a 4-bed HMO. And we also bought they say it was a house, but it was basically a 6 to 8 bed HMO. We're not sure if they were fully letting out with all 8 rooms or not, but it was structured in that way of an 8-bed HMO. So we decided to keep it as a HMO style, but we massively uplifted it and made it into, instead of an 8-bed 2-bathroom HMO, it became an 8-bed 8 ensuite HMO, which was pretty awesome. So we had those 2 projects which kept us really busy. There was lots going on. We went through planning for the first time, which was an experience. Great learning. And then we also, probably midway through the year, we got approached and got offered a rent-to-rent HMO, which we weren't particularly looking for, but we thought let's not pass up on that opportunity. So we had that to get our teeth into as well. So the projects, they took up time, and they probably went on probably for most of the year, especially the big 8-bed HMO took probably about 5 months in total to do everything, get it let. So that was what we got up to in 2019.
Yeah, and both of those properties that Tasha mentioned, there, the 8-bed and the rent-to-rent, they were both failed properties or failing properties. With the 8-bed, they tried to turn it into HMO and it just wasn't successful, and it had been vacant and had a lot of damage to it. And we heard through the grapevine that we wasn't going to make it a success. We was like, okay, this is an extra challenge on top once we'd already bought it. And that was just from the people we knew who'd maybe spoken to the investors we bought it from. And with the 5-bed rent-to-rent, that was failing, only had 2 rooms out of 5 let in it. So we uplifted it, took it off the land, took that burden away from the landlord, and turned it into a lovely property now. So they're like I said, they are the wins from last year. Basically.
We've also got some videos on those. If you go and look on the YouTube channel,
definitely have a look on the channel.
You'll find some of the projects that we've done that we've just mentioned, so you can see the before and after.
Yeah, we do tour every updates regularly throughout that, so you can see exactly what happened, the wins, the learnings, the challenges, what went well, what didn't with each project. So definitely have a look at those. So on the surface, a really successful year. But as with any property, there's always challenges with them. Like Tasha said, you can watch them on the other videos. But this brought up a lot of challenges within ourselves that we really had to delve into.
Yeah, I think we found it actually, looking back, it was a bit of a struggle.
It was,
2019. And I think one of the big things for us was we actually probably played too small. We probably didn't give ourselves a big enough goal. And to be honest, I think the main goal was to be financially free, and because we hit that, we then kind of started coasting as such, because we then didn't reset and go again. So I think playing too small, we had this belief that we were doing well, because to get 2 properties accepted at the beginning of the year, we're doing really well. We're doing better than we did last year, and then we started convincing ourselves by telling ourselves stories that if someone was to tell us we had 2 properties in a year, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So we weren't taking up the challenges or looking for other things, because we were convincing ourselves that we were fine just the way we were, and therefore we weren't pushing to see what else we could do.
And you've actually reminded me of something that we said as well. We kept saying to everyone we met that we'd achieved our goal for retirement of 5 properties already. So that was limiting ourselves. We were like, look what we've achieved, we've done well, this is brilliant. So we weren't really pushing ourselves further. And from my perspective, I think some of this comes from the people you surround yourself and who you talk to. Because when I was still working, a lot of people would be like, okay, when's enough going to be enough? Or when are you going to slow down? Or what's going to happen? And I thought at the time, this wasn't impacting me. But I think deep down in my subconscious, it was having an impact on me. And these stories were coming up. And I was making that impact on me without realising. And I kept saying things like Tasha said, like, we'll just get through this project and then we'll look for the next one. And just kind of these stories kept coming up along the way. And this obviously led to other challenges along the way. Tasha said we were spending a lot of time on these projects. we were self-managing at the time, and we were spending a lot of time travelling up and down to the Midlands where they are. We live in Essex, and we were probably travelling up every week, sometimes twice a week, just to keep track of the properties, and especially towards the end when we started to do viewings with tenants. I was up there for a good 6, 7, 8 weeks in a row, so there's no point coming back because so many people wanted to view the properties. It just wasn't worthwhile in terms of travel. So it was definitely a huge learning, that kind of scarcity mindset in terms of I need to really be involved and I can't let go of the chains or the reins, that I need to hand it off to someone. So that kind of feeling of really need to be involved all the time was definitely holding us back, and was really valuing time over money. We was valuing money over time, whereas we kind of realise now that wasn't serving us well, because your time is so valuable and you will never get it back. It's the rarest commodity. And the fact that I was spending so much time, Tasha was spending so much time in the business rather than working on the business, it was hindering us. So yeah, that's huge learning, and we've made some big changes towards the end of last year. If you saw our previous catch up with the Catchpoles, where we were talking about pros and cons of letting agents, where we shifted that and handed it off to letting agents, it's freed up so much time to allow us to push on in the business. Yeah,
because I think we were at that point where we were working really hard. It wasn't that we weren't working hard. No. And that was another story, I guess, we were telling ourselves, like, well, we're doing a lot, but we weren't growing. We were kind of maintaining, and we were kind of reacting and fighting fires, and that's got a problem, we'll do this. We felt like we were doing really well, and we were busy and getting there, but actually we weren't. And we were talking about this, what it felt like as well was, we weren't really on the same page. So it was like we were swimming underwater with our heads down. Yeah. And then we kind of came back up for air, and then we were like, oh, where are we even swimming to, firstly? And secondly, we weren't even together anymore. So I was like, oh, wait, where's Ray gone? That's literally what it felt like. Because what we weren't doing was we weren't stopping and reassessing. We were just going, rather than thinking what's actually really important for us. Like, where do we want to be heading? Like, what are our goals? What is important in our life right now? We were just working, but not actually going anywhere.
No, and I like the fact you said that we were really busy. It reminds me of the Denzel Washington, I don't know if you've seen, where he does a graduation speech, and he says, don't confuse busyness with progress, and we were 100% doing that. We were busy, we thought we were progressing, but actually we were just maintaining, because we got the projects done and we were just maintaining and kind of just keeping our heads above water. And then when we were deep down, like Tasha said, we just could be off in completely the wrong direction. So yeah, huge learning just to really think about where you're heading, and what kind of thinking about the importance of the time and putting a value to your time so you realise what you're worth. So another challenge for us, well, and for me in particular, this one was a really big challenge, was the loneliness of property. And just because, like, a lot of time spent in the car, travelling up to do the check on the refurb, meet the builders briefly, or they might not be there if it was out of hours, meeting tenants for viewings, they might not turn up, they might turn up, but you're not really connecting with people. Connecting with the builders, great relationship with them, but outside of that, a lot of time just spent on my own in hotels and in actually staying in the property, because there was so much work going on with them, especially with the rent-to-rent, decorated that myself and spent a lot of time in there, and it got really, really lonely, and I really struggled within myself to actually cope with that. So, because coming from a working environment where you're surrounded by people on a regular basis, and just missing the small talk of just chatting about the day-to-day lives, or what you've seen on the TV, or chatting about football or sport, or just anything in general, I actually missed that feeling of just chatting about rubbish. And it got quite lonely, and I remember calling up Tasha a few times just saying I was really struggling with that. So it really made me assess what was important. And on top of that, it was just the impacts on my well-being in general. And I know Tasha's experienced this from her perspective as well, the loneliness, but just where you're traveling a lot, and I was doing a lot of checkups and looking at the refurbs. Obviously, just grab something on the go. Your health's not important. You don't eat really well. Wasn't exercising very well. Wasn't going to the gym. I was trying to fit workout in here and there, but I was prioritising the business rather than myself, and that was having an impact on me.
And I think the reason we did property in the first place was to spend more time with family. Yeah. And obviously, there was one point that Ray was up there for like a good month.
Yeah, and it's completely opposite of what we planned.
Yeah, which is definitely not what we planned to do. And I think, there was a family emergency that happened, and this meant that Ray wasn't there when he needed to be with his family, and I think that was what really shocked us into saying, like, what are we doing? Yeah. Because although, you can say short-term, what's the phrase? Short-term pain for long-term gain. Yeah. that actually sometimes things are much more important, and that's what we realised, is that the family and each other is the number one priority for us, and that's where we decided we need to reassess what was happening for us.
Yeah, so a huge learning for us is to actually appreciate what's important to you now at the same time, because like Tasha said, we was thinking about the now, not about, well, we was thinking about the future and growing the future, but not thinking about what's important to now, so we were letting those things actually suffer. So like I said, I wasn't there available to get to family emergency, and that really impacted me to not be able to support my family, which is the whole reason I'm doing property. My big why is about my family. So yeah, really consider that when you're thinking about your plans for this year. So
this is when we decided, at this point we were like, right, we need to reassess.
Need something different.
And this is where personal development and growth and stuff like that has become really handy for us, because we were able to sit and have this really open conversation of what we'd done, what had gone well, what hadn't gone well, and be really, really open and honest, truthful about what was going on for us, like for each of us individually, and us as a couple, and us as a business. Why was it that it wasn't working? What was working, and gone through literally the points that we've just discussed with you. That's the things we kind of started to realise, and then we started to do things differently. So one of the first things we thought of was, what do we actually want from property in the first place? Because that's really important. We need to know what it is that we want from it now, because we'd reached our first goal, which was to become financially free. And then we just didn't do any other goals.
Yes.
So we were like, yay. And then we're like, oh, because obviously being financially free, for us, it just meant survival.
Yes.
It's literally.
That's all it is, yeah.
So, we have made enough money from property to survive. But we still need to make more money to have the ideal life and be able to help our families.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's where Ray was just like, look, I really need to help my family now.
Yeah.
So it was just like looking, what do we want from property? Where do we want to be heading, so that when we are swimming, when we look up, we can make sure that we're heading towards the island, that right island, and that we're heading to the same island together. Yeah,
and I think big part of this, you hear the most successful people are the people that do what they love. So we really took some time just to think about, okay, what strategy or what is it about property that we're really passionate about? Because I'm really passionate about growth and going into property and seeing something change and transform it. It's amazing to see that happen. But what's going to keep me passionate in the long term? And we really had some time to really think about this. And we realised we really loved the idea of creating an experience for someone. And we believed we was doing this with a HMO, but it's never quite the same, because you don't get that feedback that you want to know that you've really changed someone's life. We got the feedback every so often when tenants were leaving, and it really was amazing to hear. We wanted that regular impact on people to really think they've had an amazing experience here and we've changed their lives. We thought the best way to do this is through service accommodation, because we can really create an experience for someone through either a holiday let where they've gone on a holiday of their lifetime and stayed somewhere really fantastic that they just felt really relaxed in, or we can do some corporate lets that allow people who are working to really come home to somewhere where they're really relaxed after a hard day's work. So we was like, okay, so what do we want from this? What do we visualise doing and moving forward with the business? So when you start to really delve into this, you really start to feel the excitement in yourselves when you find something that you're passionate about. And we was like, okay, wow, we can start finding properties in the UK, finding places that people really want to visit, starting with the corporate lets to begin with, to really get our foot in the door, and then start to find some really, really nice holiday lets that we would want to stay in, because that's what we love doing ourselves. We love going on holiday. We love having that experience of going to see someone really new, going to the countryside, or really having a nice city break. And we was like, if we can create that experience for other people, that'd be amazing. And then from there, just expanding it further into like other countries and going into Europe and giving these amazing holiday lets where they're like overlooking the sea and like penthouses overlooking other places, and like really nice country retreats, and not just having holiday lets, having like retreats that people go to, and it'd be amazing. And then in the long term,
you see how passionate he is already, can't you?
And then in the long term, we've always talked about having like our own hotel, our own
wedding
venue is what we'd love to do, and just really change people's lives by giving that amazing experience. The hospitality aspects, you can tell from that experience is what we're talking about. So
and I think that's what we thought. We thought, well, what do we want to achieve in say like long term, like 20 years?
Yes. So I'm not talking this is going to be short term.
Yeah. So it's like 20 years. What do we want our life to be like? What do we want? Where do we want the business to go? So instead of hitting that initial financial freedom figure, which was the initial, now it's like, okay, so 20 years. What do we want? We want to ideally have like holiday lets in different countries, to have a wedding venue, to be able to like give back, to create amazing experiences. Yes. So what do we need to do to get there?
Yes. So that's what we're focused on now. So we've actually got our first 5 service accommodation units that we're taking on. Literally going to get keys to the first ones this week, the first 3. These are in Colchester in Essex. We're also taking on another one in Ipswich. Also, off the back of this, we're actually going into the management of service accommodation. So we're taking on 1 unit for another individual who is stepping away from a different agent and wants to try us because it's not been working with them. So we're really excited to delve into that because it's just expanding our business in different ways, and that will allow us to grow and really help other people as well and create experience for those landlords and create experiences for people staying in them as well. So it's really opening up other avenues for us, and it's just the beginning of that this year. So it's really about growing that and exploring other areas that we can start to build this in moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we did talk about, obviously you might have seen other videos, you might have heard us talk about the fact that we were going to be moving.
Yes.
And we were like, well, originally we were going to move up north and in our investment area to around Stoke and Crewe area to be able to really focus on that. And that's when, obviously, being able to reassess, we actually be like, is that actually what we really want? Is that actually where we really want to be? And Ray was like, well, if you could choose anywhere to live, where would you want to live? And I was like, well, close to our parents would be ideally where we want to live, because we're really family orientated. So I was like, so why are we going somewhere where we're going to be away from our parents and from where most of our family are living? So we were like, right, let's stay where we are. So we have moved, but we've stayed in Essex, and we're like, right, let's look closer to home and let's actually step outside of our comfort zone, because although the north is not near us, we actually feel quite comfortable there. We know it. Yeah. Whereas being in our area where we live, although we do know it, we don't know it as an investment area, and it's a completely different kettle of fish down south to what
100%, yeah.
So it's actually about feeling that fear like we did at the beginning of what are we doing? It
literally is like that. It's like, where do I start again? What do I do again? Just remembering the basics, and going through those basics really, again, firstly help you understand how far you've come, but also just start to challenge you again in different ways because you're looking at it from a different perspective. And from that as well, like Tasha said, we really do know where we invest in the Midlands, and it really, having that power team around there is amazing because we know we can really utilise them when we need. So we have got another offer accepted up there, which we're going to turn into can be a 6-bed HMO, but it's probably going to be a studio with a 5-bed HMO or some bed sets in there to really add this larger space for people to live in. And we know we can utilise that power team there. We've got a great relationship with them. We don't need to travel there as much, and we can really just build that relationship and have that trust there. And we've got other ways we can really make that work for us. But yeah, coming close to home, having that challenge is going to be really interesting. And already it's proving to be a good challenge for us because we're having to step out of that comfort zone, like Tasha said, on a regular basis. She also mentioned, obviously, that we sold our house. We moved house. We actually sold our house and moved into rented accommodation, which some people do find very strange.
Controversial, isn't it?
So we decided to do this for several reasons. So we'd always been thinking about it after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and speaking to some investors and other property developers who have done similar. And after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, obviously he talks about assets and liabilities. We started to think, obviously, our house is liability because we're paying a mortgage every month and we're not making any money off it. So we're just losing money on a regular basis. And there was a lot of dead money in there that we couldn't use to really grow ourselves and grow our lifestyle how we want and really help other people. So he's like, okay, let's sell our house. Let's take the money out. We left a bit of money in our other deals that we need to get back anyway. So it took the money back out for those investors we need to pay back and got it back early so we could reinvest it again. But it also gave us money to then put into our properties ourselves so we could push on further forward. And although it was hard to leave a house and a place that we really, really loved, especially Tasha absolutely loved the area and the neighbours she absolutely adored, we knew it wasn't our forever home. So we knew that, okay, we're making the sacrifice now, taking that different step that's going to get us that dream home and make the big difference in our lives that we couldn't have otherwise. So yeah, completely understand from some people it's quite a controversial thing to do, but we believe in ourselves that that's right for us. And again, we've listened to a lot of podcasts by like Gary Vee, and he speaks about that as well, that he thinks it's going to be the way that a lot of people go in the future. But obviously it's each to their own, and for us that was the right thing for us to do.
And it gives us flexibility as well.
Yeah, if we do want to change where we're investing, do want to travel up north, we can do that. But for now, obviously, Essex is our main focus with the Midlands having the power team. We will buy properties up there as well, but our main focus is here with utilising them at the same time. So yeah, that was some of our challenges within ourselves. You can tell it was quite a challenging year, even though it was a very successful year. So what we're going to do differently moving forward to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, so it's really important to, once you've realised what's going on, is to learn from that and to put things in place. So what we are now doing is, it was always something that we had talked about but just never prioritised, was to have regular business meetings.
Yeah.
So to treat what we are growing as an actual business rather than like a hobby.
Yes.
So it's just making sure that we know, right, these are the goals. This is where we're heading. This is what we want to achieve in the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Okay, sitting down together and being like, right, how are we doing? What are we doing? How are we getting there? What have we done in the last week? Did we do what we said we were going to do? Holding each other accountable, and then being able to say, right, this week we're going to do this. Right, you making sure you're doing this. You making sure you're doing this. We're all focused. Boom, let's go. Yeah. So making sure we do that has been really, really important.
And that helps us make sure, like Tasha said, that when we got our head down and we're swimming, we're not going off in the wrong direction, because every so often we're coming up for air and we're assessing where we're at, rather than going a year down the line going like, wow, I did not plan to be here. So it's really important for us to do that and keep that up.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the other things is making sure that we have improving our systems that we're working with, and just sometimes putting systems in place. Yeah. Because I guess that's one of our weaknesses as a couple, is that we're not very organised a lot of the time. No. And things do slip through the net. The net. Through the net.
Not with me.
So what we've started using is an app called Asana, which you can put all your projects on. You can give each other tasks. You can set tasks for other people, write what you've done. So we're very much update with what we're doing. And, I can see what Ray's up to. He can see what I'm up to, and I can add things on there so that they don't slip through the net. No,
not at all. So another thing we're also doing is future-proofing our business. So one thing we're going to do is really sit down and plan what we want the business to be like at the end. So starting with the end in sight. And I was reading a great book recently called The E-Myth Revisited. Some of you might have listened to or read this, so I was listening to an audiobook of it. And in the book, they talk about kind of planning your business, like I said, with the end in sight. So imagining when you're starting a business, creating those roles and responsibilities, but who do you need in your business? So starting with a blank piece of paper and being like, what roles are there in your business? There's like obviously like a chief operating officer, there's the lead marketing, there's the sales representative, there's the main like sales desk at the beginning. So thinking of all these roles that you might have in a business and going, okay, we then write job descriptions for each of them, so we know what that job is responsible for. Then Tasha and I will sit down and go, okay, who is best suited to this role? We can then hold each other accountable to that role. So it might be, say she was the chief operating officer, and I'm the lead marketer. I would then report into her, so we know we've got a clear line of direction there. Then what we do is we actually think about what that role entails. So when we're doing that role, we write a job description of it, so we know that when we get to a stage where we've grown in our service accommodation business, we know exactly what we're hiring and what we want that role to represent. And just having that future proofing is really going to help us hold each other accountable, because sometimes it can feel like you're in chaos when you've not got, we have set roles and responsibilities to an extent, but sometimes we're obviously reactive. So then that we don't know who's going to pick up what when.
Yeah,
so
or we end up blaming each other.
Yes.
So I'll be like, did you do this? And he'll be like, no.
Yeah,
but you could have done it.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, well, it's not my job. And yeah. Like, well, maybe it is your job.
So this will make that clear that whose job is it. So even if it's that someone reports into someone else, and we know that's going to be the case. So who knows who will be having which role yet. But that's something we need to do. It's going to be really interesting to do, and excited to do that, because it's going to really help the business in the long run, because otherwise who knows who's responsible for what and who's going to hold themselves accountable to it. We're actively looking for more ways to stop being reactive. Basically, we're trying to be more proactive in what we do. So this is actually just making us more open to opportunities. So pushing ourselves to do more talks. So our goal to do 4 public speaking events this year to share our journey and to help other people. And this is open up other opportunities off the back of it, because we're just being more proactive in everything we do, setting these goals to do something that challenges us every day, to make a step outside our comfort zone. And that will really allow us to just seek more opportunities, because obviously you're doing the hardest thing at the start of the day, or kind of doing something that challenges us. You realise you're growing and ready to go for something new. And it does feel like a lot of opportunities are coming our way now that we're more open to it, and now that we've spent a lot of time reassessing, it's really opened up these opportunities to us.
I think in order to grow your business, you have to grow yourself.
Yes. So that's a huge focus for us. So definitely, that's like Tasha said, growing yourself. That's something we're actually focusing on to really kind of be the best version of ourselves. So like I mentioned before, we spent a lot of time kind of eating rubbish, where we was really been
last
busy.
year wasn't great in terms of health-wise.
My health, like I used to be really fit going to the gym. I would have a regular routine going to the gym every day when I was at work, eating really healthy, eating really clean. I ate so clean that Natasha would hate it. But that all slipped by the wayside, and I would just eat anything, like make excuses and tell myself a story like it's okay, it's just a day, or I've just got to eat something quick and I haven't got the time, and I'd fit the odd gym session in there, but it wasn't really making me feel great, because it was just adding worse on top of worse. So we've joined a gym. We've been going regularly already for the new year, and we're committed to doing that over the rest of the year, and also eating healthy. So making sure we focus on our diet, because by being healthy inside, having a healthy mind, healthy body will help us have a healthy business. It's really going to help us push forward, because we'll be really full of energy and really be able to push on when those tough times do come.
Yeah, it's really important to put yourself first.
Yeah.
Because when we get busy, generally we tend to not look after ourselves.
No,
so as Ray said, our diet will suffer, or just putting like money aside, paying yourself first, putting money aside to do something you like. So it's like whether it's like go shopping, get a massage,
treating yourself.
Just making sure that you're actually enjoying life, because if you don't get the enjoyment out of life, even if it's just small, like you just go out and have a date night, or you just go for a walk around the park, if you don't have that, you'll start resenting what you're doing, and you won't enjoy it, because at the end of the day, if you're creating a business and it's a long-term thing, it's gonna be potentially forever. So you're gonna have to balance out life so that you are enjoying yourself as much as possible, because at the end of the day we all want to enjoy life.
100%. You want to have that balance. Like we were spending so long just working on a business that we wasn't enjoying it now, so it's about getting that balance right and living at the same time, because we really was just kind of losing that enjoyment. I realised I hadn't had that enjoyment for a while. So yeah, that's how she said, spoiling yourself every so often, having that little treat. It doesn't have to be something huge, but just having that treat every so often, just going to the cinema, going out for a nice meal, treating yourself to a little pamper session, anything like that, just to have that enjoyment and that reward that you've been working hard for. But yeah, so that's everything we wanted to cover in this episode. We hope you've really found it useful. If you have, please click subscribe. We'd love to have you following our journey. We're going to be doing more regular updates on a weekly basis now. And obviously, if you've got anything you ever want us to cover and share with you, please let us know, and we will speak to you all soon.
And if you haven't got goals yet, make sure you go and get them.
Yes, definitely do. It's still time. Obviously, Blue Monday is coming tomorrow. This is where people say it's the saddest day of the year. But that's where a lot of people they're struggling with their goals already now, and they might be holding back and thinking, this has been too hard, or I've struggled for a few days and I've let it slip. There's still time to recover. We're only a few weeks into the year. There's still time to make your goals come true and really push towards them. So yeah, keep going, guys. Work on your goals, really get a clear why, and keep pushing towards making yourself a better person, the best version you can be.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.